Hello everyone, my name is James, and welcome to my ranking of every single case in the Ace Attorney series. As you can see, we have okay, wait, no, you can't see that. You're gonna have to trust me. We have every case from every game on this list, alright? And here are our tiers. We have our tier for my favorite case, which would go in the stepladder above the rest category. Next up is outstanding, which is still like super great cases, but you know, you're just not reaching the stepladder, all right? Next, we have our basic ones. We have great, good, we have fine, which is a tier I added because I felt like the jump between good to mediocre was like a really large jump without something in between. Then we have mediocre, disappointing, and then we have the worst tier of all, the Wendy Oldbag tier. All right, and that tier is reserved for my least favorite case, which I don't know how controversial it's going to be. It's not what you think it is. I'm going to say that right now. Why would you do something so ludicrous and something that'll probably take you multiple hours to do, you ask? Well, this summer, I attempted to play every single Ace Attorney game that I had not. And so at the time of recording this, I actually still haven't, but we'll get back to that in a second. So I'm going to lay out a few things. So I'm recording this in two halves, and this first initial half is going to be me ranking the first Ace Attorney game up through Dual Destinies. So basically the trilogy, Apollo Justice, and Dual Destinies. That's what I'm ranking at this moment in time. And just to say where I'm at in the series right now, I have beaten the original trilogy, I've beaten Apollo Justice, I've beaten Dual Destinies, I'm like 1.5 cases into Spirit of Justice, and I've beaten the Great Ace Attorney duology. This video will have every single case in it, but the me of right now has not played the further on games or the investigation games. So that might influence how I rank some of these cases in the second half, but every game will be in this video, let me tell you. Also, something to note, I played the original trilogy about like 3 years ago at this point, so like a lot of these are going to be fuzzy on the details, but I'm good. I remember enough of them. I can play some solidly, and in places that will definitely not cause any controversy, okay? So we got two more things to talk about. I lied, I'm sorry. And that's how we're dealing with spoilers here. So let's say I ranked all the cases in the first game, okay? As soon as I start talking about the next one, Justice for All, I am able to spoil the entirety of Justice for All, okay? But we'll also do it like this. If I am ranking the cases in Justice for All and I want to talk about something from Dual Destinies, I will not talk about Dual Destinies. But if I'm ranking the Dual Destinies cases and want to talk about something from Justice for All, I will spoil the ever-living crap out of Justice for All. So we're doing this in a way, so if you haven't played further along in these games, you can still watch this tier list. But if you're in the middle of, let's say, Justice for All, once I hit the Justice for All section, get off this video right now, okay? Because I'm going for it. I'm just going to go for it. And then one final thing to say before we start this inevitably like 10-hour adventure. So this is the big one. I just want you to all know that this is going to be all my opinion. And I'd also like to say that my opinion is fact, okay? And so anything I say here, if I rank a case that you love very low, just know that you are wrong, okay? And also, this is all sarcasm because I have the worst takes possible. So if I rank your favorite case rather low, I'm sorry. Also, one last thing. Once I get through a game, I'm gonna rank it. Oh goodness gracious! Oh no. Golly, no. Don't look at that ad. I'm gonna rank it on a list once I'm done with all the ranking all the cases in the game, because you know what? I just really want to get shot today. I think we are finally ready to begin. So, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, 1-1. What was this case called? The First Turnabout. Where do I put it? Now, that's a very good question. And I also just spoiled where I was going to put it, because I'm going to put it in good. And now, why is this? James, when this case can be solved in like 30 minutes? Well, that's because this is the very first case in the entire series. This is the first case that I imagine most people played when they got into the Ace Attorney series. So, as a tutorial case, it does such a phenomenal job at, conveying what you're doing. Frank Saw It is someone you want to just punch in the face. And yeah, I just think it's good. Like, it's not, obviously not the most grand case where you have like this is 30 minutes. The first case in like Spirit of Justice is like 3.5 hours. So, this is not complex, but I think it's good. I think it does its job perfectly adequately. Next up, Turnabout Sisters. Is that right? Oh, goodness. I'm sorry. All right. Now you see, this is why I added the fine category, because I don't remember this case being like particularly like good. Okay, wait, no, hold on. I'm gonna put it in fine because it's not mediocre. It's still a pretty good case. I just described it as pretty good. All right, it's going in good as well. You know what? I lied again. It's going in fine. Purely because, I don't know, I think I just remember the ending the most, where it's kind of like, I get why it was done, where it's just like, oh, you gotta flip the receipt over, and Mia tells you that after like being channeled from the dead, and she's just like, hey, yo, Phoenix, that receipt, you gotta check the other side of it. And Phoenix is like, what? And he turns his wrist at like a 100-degree angle and like, oh my gosh, everything's changed. That could have been done a little better, I think. Because as it stands, that's just kind of like, dude, how did you not see the blood through the receipt? And second, how did you not think to turn it over, Phoenix? How did you not turn it over? You absolute buffoon. Which is why it's going in fine. It was still pretty good. Mr. Red White was fun. The bellboy was a character. Did he even have a name? Turnabout Samurai. Now, this is the first contentious case on this list. Or maybe it isn't. Maybe, like, someone would put the first Turnabout in, like, a stepladder above the rest. But this is what I think is the first contentious. 1-3. And I will go on record as saying, yeah, I think it's better than Turnabout Sisters. Look, all right, I'm sorry. It's not by any means like an astounding case, but as like a vehicle for Edgeworth's development and leading into the next case, where Edgeworth is like the defendant, I think it does a really good job at setting that up. I don't think this needed to be 3 days, which is something that was rectified in later games where like trials only go up to 2 days. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I think I liked D. Vasquez. There was something with blackmail. The 3 years ago is starting to show here. But yeah, I thought it was just solid. It was fun. It was a fun case. A Wendy Oldbag showed up for the first time. I think most people would make that liable for putting it in the disappointing category. But I like Wendy Oldbag. Ignore the fact that I made her the last tier. All right. 1-4. Is this Turnabout Goodbyes? Yes, this is Turnabout Goodbyes. I forget. I mix up all the... I don't even know how I remember that name. Where am I going to put this one? Not even a question. Outstanding. Also, wait, I'm going to move Turnabout Samurai up. I guess I'm going to do it like that, where I'll rank them how I feel like in that way. But yes, Turnabout Goodbyes is the first outstanding case. It's just such a good case. Like, when you find out, like, oh, shoot, you got to defend Edgeworth. Like, if you don't know that's coming, that's like, what? What the flip? And then you have Manfred von Karma. He shows up and he's all like, objection. And his voice is, like, super low, and that's terrifying. He looks like Dracula. He smacks his head up against the wall multiple times. He's a terrifying man, a terrifying antagonist. Maybe he could have been built up a little more in the earlier cases, but you know what? Whatever. He works. He's a good final prosecutor to face. The whole thing with, like, it wasn't Christmas yet. That's classic. Larry Butts making his return. A lot of Heart showing up. A lot of Heart's fine. I don't know why I thought to mention her. Then you end up basically solving, like, 2 mysteries in one with, like, the DL6 incident and then the incident with Edgeworth. Like, that was super cool. Was this trial 3 days? If it was, I feel like it deserved its 3 days, I think. At least a lot more than Turnabout Samurai did. But yeah, then using the metal detector that you've had since like the first day to like freaking find the bullet in Manfred von Karma. Oh, that was sick. That was amazing. My mom is texting me. Super great case. I have this weird thing where like I can, if I remember when I was playing something, like the exact circumstances I was playing it, then usually it's a very good memory. I remember the exact moment I was playing this case. The back of a car on my Switch. Phenomenal. But yeah, that's our first outstanding case. Next up, the last case in the first game, which, unbeknownst to me at the time of playing, was added after the fact. So Rise from the Ashes. This is another contentious case, because a lot of people think it's too long, too complicated, maybe not that one, I don't know. So what do I think about it? Which is all that matters in this world, of course. I think it's great. I do agree that I remember the investigation segments just being like infuriating to get through in a lot of cases. I don't even remember why. I just remember getting stuck on them much more than any of the other cases in this game. And this was also kind of soured by the fact that I thought 1-4 was the last case in the game, so I was like, oh man, nice. Credits. We did it. We beat the first game. Time to move on to Justice for All. And then like it's like, oh hey, guess what, you stupid idiot? Rise from the Ashes. I didn't know that this case was added after the fact, like I said earlier. So that was kind of surprising to me. And I think that soured my experience a bit, because I was done with the first game. I internalized that fact. And then this case shows up. I'm like, okay. Which, I mean, that's more so my fault than the game's fault. Or maybe it is the game's fault, because they played the credit sequence. I don't know. This case is so complicated and so difficult. I remember this case being really hard, okay? But it was hard in a really good way, where it's like everything did make sense, especially at the time. This was a complicated mystery, but I feel like this is one of the first cases that really, really made use of the 3 days it was given. But yeah, in that regard, this is such a long trial, too. Like, longer, like, I don't even know. I think it's just, there are longer cases in this game, or in this series, later down the line, that I like more than this one. And I think that it's just because this was, like, the first 10-hour case, where I was like, okay, this is too long. I don't know. It was really good. Like, the moment everyone talks about is when the screwdriver comes back into play after, like, being not important for the first 3 days. Like, if this if this case wasn't 3 days long, then that moment would be completely nullified, which I recognize. But yeah, I don't know. This is definitely more of a personal opinion. It's still a great case. Still a great case. A lot of fun characters. Like, what was his name? Mike Meekins. You know, I don't think he was fun. Damon Gantz. Great, what word am I thinking of? Culprit, villain, guy, I don't know. I guess the one thing I could talk about this one is, I feel like it kind of like, some people argue that it doesn't muddy up Justice for All. I kind of felt like it did, like not knowing that this wasn't in the original game at the time. When Justice for All rolled around, I was like, oh, okay, all right. I almost just broke my cardinal rule, but I am about to not break my cardinal rule by jumping into Justice for All. So this is the moment where Justice for All will get spoiled from now on. So I'm gonna, all right, Rise from the Ashes. Okay, I feel like it kind of muddies up the whole Edgeworth like going and vanishing thing, because I think in like in every case but Rise from the Ashes, it was kind of implied that like, oh yeah, Edgeworth was like knowingly doing or using forged evidence just to win. And then in Rise of the Ashes, it's kind of like, oh, he didn't know. Uh-oh. And I don't know. I just feel like maybe it would have been better to just like slot Rise from the Ashes between like 1-3 and 1-4. If that was possible. I don't remember if that was like impossible. But yeah, I don't know. What am I at? Justice for All. 2-1. This is a case that a lot of people don't like. I'm going to have to kind of agree. I mean, let me just say straight up that I do really like, there's only one case that was actively painful for me to get through. It's not coming up for a little while though, so spoilers for Turnabout Big Top's position. It's not Wendy Oldbag. This one, I just kind of feel like it's discount 1-1 in a lot of ways. I will admit, I laughed at the fact that Phoenix got amnesia. That was funny. That was just funny to me. I don't know if people think that wasn't funny, but I found it funny, and that's all that matters right now. But it was just, like, there was something with, like, a baseball glove and them looking like bananas, and the dude didn't have his glasses on. What was his name? Richard Wellington, the greatest Ace Attorney villain of all time. I don't know. In hindsight, the opening with, like, the demon judge or whatever, I really like that opening. You know, if someone heard this out of context without knowing what I'm talking about, they'd look at me like I'm a lunatic. But yeah, nothing. I don't really have much to say about this one. Maggie Bird's cool. I don't know. All right, 2-2. Well, I forget what this one's called. Hold on, wait, no, it'll come to me. It'll come to me. It did not come to me. Okay, 2-2. Now I'm just gonna slap this one down. Okay, wait, hold on. I might not just slap this one down. I need to think about this one. It's going in great. And I'm gonna put it above Rise from the Ashes. I know. I'm sorry. This is like borderline outstanding to me. This was such a good case. I feel like it really kind of captures what Justice for All was going for, where it's like, you know, the title is Justice for All. Like, even people who, like, you could technically justify taking actions that they do, but not to the extremes that they go. So, like, what was her name? Eenie Miney or Mimi Miney? Shoot, I don't remember which one was which. The Miney girl. Like, you could definitely see why she would kill the doctor guy at the beginning. Like, that guy borderline ruined her life, defamed her, I think. I don't remember exactly. But so much about her life was completely irrevocably damaged because of that man. And so the actions that she takes to get revenge on him are like, oh yeah, I could definitely see that. It's just such a tragic case. And Scars Etched by Flames, oh, such a good song. It captures the case perfectly. I was gonna say something else. It's the introduction of Franziska von Karma, who I'm not a big fan of. I just realized I forgot to rank the first Ace Attorney game on the tier list. I will go back and do that once I finish Justice for All. How tragic. How utterly buffoonish of me. Oh, this case is also instrumental to setting up, like, the Fae clan stuff that retroactively just makes later cases so much better, and I won't say anything else. Yeah, just a great case. Great case. Wonderful case. Turnabout Big Top is a case that does exist in this world. The question is, where am I going to put it? I will... Okay, in what might be my first controversial... Okay, no, this definitely isn't my first controversial opinion of the night. I'm gonna put it in a hesitant mediocre. It might jump down to disappointing if I talk myself into talking it down to disappointing. So, Turnabout Big Top is kind of like the case that everyone points and laughs at, where it's like, haha, this is bad. I mean, it's somewhat warranted. I do remember this being like the first case where I had to actually look something up because I could not figure it out. And I think it was the part where the cloak gets onto the bust and raises up. That was just like the moment where I was like, okay, wait. What? So there's definitely some logic issues in it. The whole like love square with the freaking puppet. Max. Oh wait, no, never mind. It wasn't a square. I mean, if you want to consider, what was his name, Trilo and Max or whatever, if you want to consider them a hive mind, it becomes a triangle again. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. It's a triangle with like Max Galactica, Regina, and the puppet. That was kind of weird. Not gonna lie. I don't know, man. Like the puppet, it freaked me out. But Okay, so Mo is like the other character that everyone seems to really hate in this case. I don't know. I think he redeemed himself with the West Clonadelphia born and raised. That was hilarious, and if you didn't find that hilarious, then I envy you. Oh, another kind of thing that people don't like about this case is Max Galactica himself. Him being a complete dirtbag is the point, and it kind of ties back into the overarching theme of justice for all. You know, justice for all, even the people who, you know, don't seem like they deserve justice. Yeah, I'll talk about something else once I rank justice for all as a whole. But yeah, I think that's all I have for Turnabout Big Top. Francisca was fine again, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Francisca. Could have done more. So the final case in Justice for All, let's just get this out of the way. Outstanding as well. But I do like 1-4 a little better. And I think that's just because it's the difference between the first game and the second game, where the first game kind of had a plot string throughout it with the DL6 incident. And how this case is kind of a culmination of all those strings of the plot that have been brought up so far. Whereas 2-4 is more of a culmination of the theme of the game. So like Justice for All really doesn't have an overarching theme or have an overarching plot in it, where it seems to more so have an overarching theme. And this case does a phenomenal job of tying up that theme perfectly. But I don't know, I think I this is more of a personal preference. I think I like the tying up of a big convoluted plot more than a big convoluted theme. But that is not to say that this case is bad. This case slaps, all right? It is such a good case. It tests Phoenix and in turn the player so well, where it's like you get stuck in the moral dilemma of like, do you get an innocent person convicted in order to save someone you love? Or do you get the right person but have the person that you love killed? It's just like, what is justice in that case? Because both those situations are completely unfair. And it's just, how does someone deal with that? And before Francisca bursts into the room, it's kind of up to the player to figure that out. It's one or the other here. What am I going to do? Am I going to have to make this choice? And it's just such a phenomenal case. And it's intricate. The reveal of Max on guard being an absolute crap stain of a human being. Oh, that was great. That was a phenomenal reveal. Julie Andrews. Is that her name? It's something like that. The girl with the glasses who has like 1,500 pairs of glasses that shatter throughout the trial. Her story, I remember being tragic. I don't remember exactly what it was. Because the 3 years are catching up to me at this point. But yeah, I'm just reiterating myself. Great case, or outstanding case, my bad. I will not forget, here we are, Love in Paradise. So yeah, I have to rank the first game. So I'm going to, all right, if there is one thing that's going to change throughout this video, it's probably going to be this tier list. I'm going to slap the Ace Attorney first one. I'm going to slap it right in B tier because it is a great start, but different games improve upon the formula in a variety of ways. So this is like the baseline game, I would say. That's a lie. It's not the baseline game, but it's still a great game. Do not get me wrong. But just in comparison to everything else that's going to be on here, yeah. So next up is Justice for All. I think I'm going to put this in C tier, just because this game has some incredibly high highs and some rather low lows. 2-1. Probably one of the worst cases in the series. And then Turnabout Big Top, infamous for being not great. But I loved 2-2. And I also loved 2-4. So it's kind of like a give and a take. And it's hard to rank it because of that. Because half the game is just outstanding. Some of the best cases. And then the other half is like some of the worst cases. In my opinion, at least. And then the whole thing with Edgeworth, it being like maybe dead, that was like, I don't know. I feel like it just could have used a little polishing here and there, because that just kind of felt a little awkward to me. And I remember when it came up, I didn't really know what to make of it. But yeah, it's staying in C tier for the moment. That might change as this list goes along. Okay, it is now time for Trials and Tribulations. And if you have not played Trials and Tribulations, do that, because I'm about to spoil everything. 3-1 I'm going to put 3-1 in the great tier, but not above Rise from the Ashes. Actually, I might put it above Rise from the Ashes. I know, Rise from the Ashes is a good case. I swear. It is a great case, actually. I don't know, it didn't hit me as much as some of the other ones. But this is a great introduction case. It was great playing as Mia for the first time, seeing her, I hesitate to say in her prime because she's recovering from irreversible trauma from 3-4. But you get to play as her. Seeing young Phoenix, I didn't see that coming. That was funny. That was great. I love his animations with like his mask just like flying all over the place as he's sneezing. I actually don't remember too much about the actual case itself, but this is more so for like, it does a great job of setting up the overarching story for Trials and Tribulations, which I think is one of the better overarching stories in the series. But yeah, Dahlia Hawthorne, it's terrifying. Also a great setup to her as an antagonist. Yeah, just a really great case all around. 3-2. Now I'm gonna be honest, 3-2 and 3-3 are kind of hazy for me, as in like what actually happened. But I'm gonna put 3-2 in great as well, but below Rise from the Ashes. And this is purely because Luke Atney was the funniest thing that I have ever seen in my life. And I remember so much of Luke Atney that I barely remember the rest of the case. But no, that's a lie. Ron Delight, the whole thing with I'm just talking out of my butt here. I do not remember this case very well. Luke Atney's plan with the whole double jeopardy thing, that was great. Like, that is a power play right there. And then you tie him to the murder, so it turns out he just takes the fall for both the crimes, just like the tragic clown he is. Ah, man, you touch like a statue or something. I don't remember. Recipe for a Turnabout. This is going to be the first case in fine for quite a while because I don't know, this case didn't do a whole lot for me. And like I don't remember being like overtly terrible or anything or mediocre, but like I don't know, it was fine. Godot is great. I forgot to mention that in 3-2. Godot is like the best character in the series, and no one can tell me otherwise, all right? Yeah, 2-3 or 3-3, whatever. I don't know. There was like that chef guy, kind of freaked me out a few times. Kudo or whatever his name was, the guy with the bird seed. He was certainly a witness. He was the most witness of all time. There was like something with like, I don't remember this case very well, but I do not remember being like wowed by it. Speaking of being wowed by cases, 3-4. I have to think of where to put this. I don't have to think of where to put this. I'm gonna say, as you can very clearly see me putting here, right there, final answer. There's definitely a lot of cases in the great tier right now. You know, I'm gonna move down the Stolen Turnabout one, I think. It's still a really good case. It's just also the fact that I'm not remembering too much of it might be a signal to me to move it down one. I don't know. We'll adjust as we go. 3-4. This case does a great job with messing with the chronology of the series, because this is technically the first case that happens in the series, technically the first case that happens in the series, I think, unless something happens in like some of the games I haven't played yet. But seeing a young Edgeworth prosecuting for the first time, great. Seeing how smug he is, how he has animations that mimic Von Karma. I don't remember which ones, but I do remember that specifically. Oh man, the ending of this case, just, oh man, out of nowhere, dude just ends his life on the stand. That's traumatizing. I could see why Mia would not want to step foot in the courtroom again. Further sets up Dahlia and further sets up the final conflict. My cat is walking on my phone right now. All right, we are at the end of Trials and Tribulations. 3-5. Now you may be asking yourself, where am I going to put it? Now, do you remember when I said the Wendy Oldbag tier would be the most controversial opinion anyone has ever had. That's right, it's going in a stepladder above the rest. This is the definitive Ace Attorney case. This is the best case in the series, in my opinion. I don't know, there might be some that come... You know, I should also say, these two tiers on the end, the stepladder above the rest and the Wendy Old Bag tiers, these are probably the most liable to change. Because if I play something that I haven't played yet, where I'm like, okay, this is actually the best, then they're getting moved. But I don't see this one getting moved anytime soon, okay? This is just like, this is the definitive conclusion of the entire trilogy. Every plot point, every major and minor character who have had any semblance of importance in this series meets for this final case. And oh my gosh, it's so good. It ties everything together. It finishes Phoenix's character arc. Godot is still the best character. Everyone knows that this is like the definitive case. This is pretty much everyone's top. I'm no different. I'm a sucker. Phenomenal case in a phenomenal game. Going to the game tier list, easy S tier. And looking at this, I'm going to move Ace Attorney 1 up to A. And I'm gonna add a tier called tier B.5 for what's it called? Justice for All. Because I don't know, C seems a little mean after I just moved everything up. Maybe I'll get rid of B.5, but not yet. Now has come the point where we start ranking Apollo Justice. So if you've not played Apollo Justice, get out of here. So I know everyone who has been watching this video so far has been pining to hear my opinions on Apollo Justice, the most contentious game in this series. Do I love Apollo Justice? Do I hate it? You shall find out now with probably another one of my most controversial picks of tonight. Oh man, I'm gonna get shot through my window for putting this here. Case 4-1, Turnabout Succession. This isn't Turnabout Succession. Turnabout Trump goes in the outstanding tier. Okay, everyone calm down. Calm down, everyone. All right, I feel like I need to explain myself here. This is the best first case in the series so far. And I don't think any other game in the series is going to beat that. On its own, this case is fantastic to me. It sets up the whole mystery of the game very well, where like you have disbarred Phoenix, what the flip, why is he a hobo, how did he get there, false evidence, what's happening. You have your mentor getting thrown into the slammer because he is the one who did it. I right clicked. I don't know what it is about this case. It just sets up everything so well. Like after I finished this case, I was like, oh man, dude, this is gonna be the best game. Like, I don't know. It was such a good first case. A lot of fun contradictions there. Phoenix, I'm not going to talk about Hobo Phoenix yet because that's another contentious topic. But on its own, this case sets up everything so well and it gets you so intrigued. And it's a little bit sullied by what comes later, I'd say. But if we're taking this at like when I played it, boom, easy outstanding. Next up is Turnabout Corner, which okay, where am I gonna put Turnabout Corner? Because I don't think this case is as bad as people say, but I also don't think it's as good as people say. Do people even say this case is good? I'm gonna put it in fine. A lower end fine. Am I gonna put it a lower end fine? Fine. No, I can't make another tier between good and fine. No, this is fine. It's fine. It's going in fine. It's going to go towards the end of fine. I really do like how this case has just like a bunch of incredibly unrelated, seemingly unrelated events just come together in a way that's like, whoa, holy heckin' dang. But I will admit, first trial segment with the freaking scholar guy, what was his name? Oh my gosh, I know this. It was something weird. Stickler, got it. I don't know, it felt like it took a long time with him testifying to just figure out he was actually standing on the other side. Look, man, this might just show my sense of humor, but the whole thing with like Trucy's magic bloomers, and That was funny. And then the final part in this case, where it turns out that the bloomers, that they were shoved in the exhaust, and that's why Pal Maractus couldn't start the car. That is the funniest thing. And I just think it ties everything, all these seemingly unrelated events together really well. I know the other contentious one is Waki Kataki as the defendant. I thought he was fine. People seem to absolutely detest him. And like, I could see why they detest him, but I don't know, he never really got under my skin. The whole Kataki family, I really like them. Oh man. Okay, no, all right, I keep talking about it. I'm moving it up like a slight point. Because the reveal that Mr. Kataki's eyebrow, or the shadows under Mr. Kataki's eyes were actually just his eyebrows. That was hilarious, and no one can tell me otherwise, all right? You know what? Okay, moving it on. I don't know. I liked this case. It was fine. It wasn't anything beautiful or outstanding. Oh, and then one more thing. Pal Maractus probably has my favorite name in the entire series, just because it took me until like the end of the case to figure out that it was a pun on malpractice. Like, that blew my mind. Turnabout corner, going right there. Final answer. Oh boy. Okay, Turnabout Serenade. Another rather contentious case for a variety of reasons. And these are reasons that I am willing to overlook. Okay, everyone, stop pointing your guns at me. So if it wasn't obvious now, I actually really liked Apollo Justice. Like, I know a lot of people detest it, but I don't know. I'm a forgiving man. And I was able to forgive a lot of the stuff. Like, I got what they were doing with making, however you pronounce his name, Machi? I'm gonna call him Maki Tobaye. Like, the blind child, how they picked him as the defendant. Like, I could see how that could ruffle a lot of feathers, because like, yeah, I will also admit it makes zero sense, but they should have either this is more of like a fixing this as it all right, slight tangent here. It's a lot easier to fix a story that's already there than it is to make a story itself, so I do not hold anyone accountable for this. But for me, from an outsider's perspective, this case would work a lot more, I think, if they just referenced the fact more that they picked a blind child as the defendant, rather than, if they just talk about how screwed up that is, where they would rather blame a child for this than be like, okay, yeah, let's investigate this a little more. Like, if they drove into that more, that would be great. But they didn't hit it much, which kind of leaves you with like, how could they possibly pick this blind child to have shot this gun that's supposed to have dislocated a shoulder? Doesn't make sense. But the other thing they could have done was just make the gun not blow out someone's shoulder, because that just, I don't know, that really just pins you straight to, what's his name? Darian Crescent. Like, this is probably one of the more obvious culprits in the series. Because, like, when you think about everyone involved, he's basically the only one who could have possibly done it, if you're thinking from like a story perspective, if characters were supposed to show up later. There were a lot of moments in this that I thought were really cool. Like, I really liked using the mixtape or whatever to find moments in the song where it's like, oh, this is where something could have happened, or stuff like that. That was really cool. This might be another contentious thing, but I really liked kind of the language barrier thing with La Mirar, or however you pronounce her name. I am sorry to that fictional country that I just butchered. How she was like, yeah, I was looking through the window and I heard him through the window, and everyone's like, what the flip? You can't hear through that window, stupid. And you're blind too. So, yeah. But it turns out that she meant vent window, and it turns out she was in the vent the whole time. That was fun. I feel like they could have done a little bit more with stuff like that, where you have like the language barrier and you're trying to interpret what she says. That would have been really cool. But yeah, if the people aren't angry with me yet, they might be angry with my placement of this next one. Turnabout Succession, another very contentious case. You know, it's seeming like just the entirety of Apollo Justice is just one contentious beast, except for Turnabout Trump. But Turnabout Succession, where do I put Turnabout Succession? That was both a question to you and to myself, because I'm actually not sure where I'm putting this yet. It's going somewhere in great, I'm gonna say. Yeah. Alright. The question is, do I go with what will appease the people or what I personally think? What I personally think, it's going above Rise from the Ashes. Rise from the Ashes is a great case. I am sorry. It seems like I'm trashing it, but I'm not. It's still such a great case. But, alright, there's a lot of stuff in Turnabout 6. When I said I was a forgiving person, I guess I am just a forgiving person, because I could definitely see how people could absolutely despise this case. And, like, you could discredit the Mason system, the fact that Apollo barely has a presence in his own final case. There's a lot of stuff that you could do. So I will say, I don't know where that last thought was going, but this thought is going in the direction of, I really liked that investigation portion with the Mason system, even if it, like, technically doesn't make sense, or maybe it does and it just wasn't explained very well. I thought it was fun doing that, because, like, going to different parts and different places, you know, and using evidence you got from somewhere else, jumping back to a scene where you couldn't do anything, messing with the Cyclops, that was really cool. And then playing as Phoenix for that one part, I didn't see that coming at all. Okay, one of the things I really love with Apollo Justice, and just these games in general, is when they hide something right in front of your face the entire time that you could have easily figured out. Like, if you had just, like, you know, gone back or, you know, thought back. So the reveal that Shady Smith was actually Zach Romarie, holy crap, that was amazing. That was great. Because, like, you just see the man again, the victim of the first case, and then it turns out, oh shoot, he was actually super important this entire time. Like, I just love stuff like that in these games, and a lot of these games do that really... What? A lot of these games do that really well. But yeah, Spark Brushel, alright, fun fact, watch his blinking animation, because he blinks from the bottom eyelid up, and you know what, that messed me up when I saw it. Okay, yeah, a lot of my discussion on Turnabout Succession is just more so going to Apollo Justice as a whole, so I'm gonna jump to the tier list again with the actual cases, and I'm going to put Apollo Justice in B tier. I might get shot for that one, actually, because I know a lot of people like Justice for All more than Apollo Justice. But like I said, I'm a very forgiving guy, apparently. I don't know. I'm willing to overlook a lot of the things in this game. Like, see, a lot of people have an issue with Hobo Phoenix. I was perfectly fine with Hobo Phoenix, purely because I didn't feel like it was out of character for him to, like, be incredibly snarky. Because, you know, previously, he was incredibly snarky, but only in his mind. And so now, after the 7 years, he's just incredibly snarky out loud, which that's kind of how I saw it, at least. And then, like, the whole thing with him constantly bluffing in the previous games, and he becomes a poker player, that was hilarious. It took me a while to get that one. This game, I will admit, it has its issues. Once again, Apollo Justice himself really doesn't have that many moments to shine in this game. His relationship with Trucy, though, it was great. I love that relationship. They had a great banter back and forth between each other. How did I go this entire time without talking about Clavier? Clavier was great. I really liked him. I just feel like he didn't have a whole lot to do also, especially when Kristoff was on the stand again. Like, they alluded to a bunch of stuff, like how he had, like, a tragic past, or, well, they didn't allude to that at all, actually. But they alluded to this relationship between the two brothers, and then I really didn't feel like they did anything with it. Like, this game could have just used, like, maybe a once-over. Because, like, the whole thing with Turnabout Trump again, where, like, in hindsight, it's an outstanding case, but in the context of the whole thing, it's still a great case, but it's a little soured. Because I thought throughout the game they would show more scenes with Kristoff and Apollo, like, as a mentor-mentee relationship, but they really don't do that, and Apollo really just doesn't seem to care that much that Kristoff, his mentor, was thrown into the slammer. I don't know, I feel like they should have explored that more. Like, everything you learned is learned from a petty, egotistical killer. Like, I don't know. But yeah, I just, as a whole, could have used a little tightening up, but yeah, solid. If I haven't lost all my credibility yet, I might lose all my credibility when talking about Dual Destinies, plural, my bad. Yeah, this is the point where I talk about Dual Destinies. So, you remember the Wendy Oldbag tier? I'm sure you do, because it's been here the entire time. Yeah, Turnabout Countdown is going in the Wendy Old Bag tier, okay? I know, I am well aware that technically there are worse cases than this, okay? But this is my opinion. This was the only case in the series where I was actively agonizing. It was an agonizing experience getting through this case. And, alright. I'm sorry. I'm just passionate about Turnabout Countdown, the most forgettable first case in the entire series. I think my big issue with this case is that it just... Alright, so as someone who really liked Apollo Justice, this case was just like the biggest punch to the kneecap that you could have ever possibly gotten. So, alright, a little bit of context. Played the trilogy 3 years ago. Played Greatest Attorney, the first one and the second one, like from the end of December throughout like early February of 2022. So let's say I played the original trilogy in 2019, the Great Ace Attorney in 2021 through 2022, and then I played Apollo Justice like a month ago at this point, which at the time of recording, a month ago would be about like May, early-ish May. And so at this point, the next 3 games in the mainline series were all on sale, and I got all 3 of them total for $15. And so I was like, heck yeah, it's a steal. So I went straight from Apollo Justice and the ending with the jury system and everything into Dual Destinies. And let me tell you, I should have waited, because this game just reverts everything back to the status quo as quickly as it possibly can. And as someone who was actually kind of interested in where Apollo Justice was going, I don't know, it was just like, oh man, Phoenix, you forged evidence in the last game, and you were, like, in that flashback case, you were incredibly confident and, like, in complete control of everything. And then just have him thrown into, freaking, what's his name? Gaspin Pain, and Phoenix is like, I'm losing to Gaspin Pain. Like, I don't know, it felt like too much of a whiplash, too fast. Like, it's okay to make him, like, kind of bumbling still, but I don't know, I didn't feel like it was earned to make him bumbling again. I don't know. And then just this case, it took like 40 minutes to get into the first witness testimony. It took so long. And then you get through that, and then you have like 30 more minutes of just these characters talking over and over and over again. And like, I don't know, I like the text in this, or I love the dialogue in this game, in every game except for Dual Destinies. You can tell it was written by a different individual and a different team, and just, I don't know. Alright, I'm talking about Dual Destinies as a whole too much. Turnabout Countdown, it's actually not terrible, but like, I don't know, there's just a few things about it that kind of frustrated me a little bit. I remember one testimony specifically where freaking Ted Tonate, I like his name by the way, he was like, actually, I don't remember how this was led to, but you were trying to figure out what the weapon was that was used to clack Detective Arm over the head. And Phoenix is like, all right, it was a large, heavy, flat object. I'm like, okay, it's the remote controller, because the remote controller has been missing this entire time and no one's found it. So my guess was that it was the murder weapon because it had blood on it, and like Ted Tonate had it on his person or something like that. That was wrong. And so I was like, okay, what was it? I wasn't even thinking about the bomb as an option at this point, so I was like, okay, I guess it's the bomb cart, and he just like took Detective Arm's head and slammed it into it or something and cleaned off the blood. That was also wrong. And then I was like, oh, it's the bomb. And it's just like, they could have worded it just slightly differently to not be like, oh, metal flat object, because that's like half your evidence. Maybe I'm just stupid. I probably am just stupid, but I don't know. That threw me off. The ending was pretty cool with like Phoenix being like, yeah, that's actually a fake bomb, you stupid idiot. But I don't know, that just didn't redeem it for me. So it's in the Wendy Old Bag tier. I don't know if something else will show up to go in the Wendy Old Bag tier. Whatever. Okay, 5-2. In my next controversial opinion of the night, it's fine. I don't think it's... I think it's like... It's not the worst case. it's not even the second to worst case. I don't know, the Monstrous Turnabout is like, I have issues with it, but there are also things that like I think even out the things I don't like about it. Let me talk about something I don't like. I played through this case like, how long ago? Maybe like 2 weeks ago at this point or something. I don't think I could tell you exactly what happened in this case. Like what the killer's plan was, or how they went about it, or what happened during it. It was a locked room mystery inside another locked room mystery, except the room actually wasn't locked in like 2 different places, because there's like vents leading throughout this stupid mansion or whatever. And it was complicated because it was complicated. Oh my gosh, that was the worst sentence I think I've ever said. The writers behind this were like, oh man, well, Ace Attorney cases are really complicated, so we have to make this incredibly complicated too. But I think some of my favorite Ace Attorney cases are the ones that, like, on paper are not complicated at all, but just the ones that you slowly piece together how the killer messed with the crime scene or whatever. Like, I think, like 1-4 is a really good instance of this, I think, where it's just like, it's actually not that complicated in retrospect. But maybe 1-4 was a bad example. I don't completely remember 1-4 very well, but I do remember it being like not incredibly complicated. You know, I keep talking about Dual Destinies as a whole, so I'll try to hold off. Monstrous Turnabout, I really liked, what was his name? Tenma, the defendant. I really liked him and how he was like trying to help his daughter out by pretending to be a demon. That was great. I really liked him. Freaking LaBelle, you know, by all accounts, he should be like one of the most forgettable characters or one of the most forgettable villains. But I don't know what conversation happened in the planning director's office when they decided that Florence LaBelle would have the most slap-worthy theme of all time. Because holy crap, his theme is a banger. Like, it plays like twice in the entire game. No other character or no other villain, I don't think, has their own theme except for Florence LaBelle. And his theme is just, it's so good. Like, I don't know. And I think that just made him memorable in retrospect. Like, he's just the phones on his shoulders. That was hilarious. But it just, this case seems like it just has highs and lows with characters. Like, this is the introduction of Bobby Fulbright. I love Bobby Fulbright. Like, the instant I saw him and he was like, yo, in justice we trust. Like, that was amazing. I love that. I love wacky characters like that. And I feel like they played up his ham perfectly. Oh, 2 more characters. Like it's a give and take with characters. Phineas Filch, he's a whatever character. I don't know. I like that he stole from you. That was fun. He was a pickpocket. Jinxie Tenma, or whatever her name was, really just, I don't know. She didn't have like anything to her. She was not exciting to me. That was a long time to talk about the Monstrous Turnabout. So we're going to move on to Turnabout Academy. Now this is the next most contentious case in this series. Because I'll be honest, I looked up like some cases. Or I love looking at people's rankings for these cases. Because there's just some where they're like absolutely crazy different from what I would put. And this is consistently the one where it seemed just completely random where it went. Some people were like, oh, this is the greatest case of all time. Some were like, it's pretty good. Some were like, this is terrible. So where do I fall in that category? Mediocre. And now, yes, I am saying Turnabout Academy is worse than the Monstrous Turnabout. I realize how sacrilegious that is, and I deeply apologize. But let me explain myself. I just have to formulate my thoughts here. So, I guess I don't like Turnabout Academy, not for what it is per se, but what it could have been. That sounds incredibly unfair, but let me explain myself with me already explaining myself. So, Turnabout Academy is the first time the Dark Age of the Law, that whole plot point, actually kind of like has any sort of say, which is a problem in and of itself. But we'll get back to that when we talk about Dual Destinies as a whole. But at the Academy itself, I forget what it's called, like St. Themis or something like that, whatever. There's like this debate going on within the Academy itself where it's like, hey, the truth should only be done if you do it fairly with proper evidence and things like that. And then there's the other side. It's like, okay, no, the ends justify the means. And now that's actually like an incredibly cool ethical debate where it's like, in a perfect world, yeah, you'd want things to be fair and just all the time. But even in the context of the Ace Attorney world, like, there's been so much forgery, so much evidence tampering, so much madness in this world. Yeah, in a perfect world, if you tell the truth, then you win. But this isn't a perfect world, all right? There are points where people will cheat, they'll lie, they'll deceive, and they'll win. And it gets to the point where it's like, okay, people are getting falsely convicted because I tried to follow the truth, you know? So is it morally correct to break the rules of law in order to get an innocent person off the hook? And this is something I think Apollo Justice did a whole lot better, even if it didn't tackle it perfectly. Turnabout Trump, Christoph Gavin would not have been thrown into the slammer had it not been for Phoenix's forged evidence. Like, he would still be out there. And it's like, did the ends justify the means? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And it turned out, like, they addressed it as, like, hey, the system needs to change, rather than something else. But 5-3, Turnabout Academy, just turns this into a black and white debate, where, like, the only person saying, like, oh man, the ends justify the means, is so comically evil. It is completely ridiculous, and you cannot take anything he says seriously. Like, look, I'll be honest, I like Professor Means. He was a fun guy to take down. In my opinion, I don't think he should have been a fun guy to take down, because he is the only mouthpiece for the Dark Age of the Law in this game. Even though the Dark Age of the Law is less so dealing with, like, the actual courts themselves and, like, the crap going on in there, and more so with the public's perception of that, or of the courts. But even then, he, like, I don't know, there's just so much they could have explored with this. I haven't even talked about the characters yet, other than my main man, Professor Means. The ends justify the means. I don't know, I really liked him. I don't know why. I liked him for the reason I probably shouldn't have. Hugh O'Connor, I actually kind of liked Hugh. I don't know. He was a dirtbag, but he kind of got his comeuppance when he realized, and he actually tried to improve as a human being when he realized he was getting paid for to get through school. I liked him. Robin was certainly a character. Juniper Woods, I will address in Dual Destinies as a whole. But their friendship was just kind of like, I don't know, it was something. Like, I think that's just how I feel about this case. It was something. Like, there's something here. And, I don't know, it just could have been better. I did really like, I might get shot for this one, but the "you're a goner" to Hugh O'Connor, I figured that out, like, right at the start when that came up. I felt like a genius. And then I was like, oh, shoot, it's finally time to do it. And then you prove it. And then it turns out that she was actually just saying "you're a goner" the entire time. And you know what? That made me sad. Never mind. That wasn't my favorite part. One last thing with Turnabout Academy. Aristotle Means is, I would say, the most obvious killer that is not exposed as being the killer immediately. Like, as soon as you see this guy, and as soon as you hear him say, like, oh, the ends justify the means, it's like, oh yeah, this guy did it. This guy 100% did it. It's like when you have those characters in, like, RPGs where, like, the main character's talking to him and he's like, hey, what do you think about life? And the character just turns and he's like, have you ever thought about improving this world? And it's just, it felt like that, where it's like, this is so obviously the villain. That's my opinion on Turnabout Academy. I think I got all my thoughts out for Turnabout Academy. I don't know. It's hard to organize all this without having written anything down. I should have written stuff down, but alas, that's just the life I live. Okay. We are to the Cosmic Turnabout, and in turn, Turnabout for Tomorrow. This is kind of hard to rank because this is the first case in the series, I think, where it's like the Cosmic Turnabout is basically just Turnabout for Tomorrow. The one leads straight into the other. Like, there's not a solving of the case in Cosmic Turnabout. So I guess I'm just going to rank them together. I would say that these are am I really going to put these here? Yeah, I'll say they're good, but on the lower end of good. If it was not obvious to tell, I was not a huge fan of Dual Destinies. I'm sorry. I know people really like it in a lot of instances. Like, some people... Okay, I'll talk about that in a sec. Actually, no, I'll just talk about it now. It seems like this game either ranks up there with the best, or just people really do not like it. I'm probably like... This is definitely my least favorite Ace Attorney right now, at least. There are a few I haven't played, but I don't know if they're going to hit this level again. All right, let's get back to Turnabout for tomorrow for a second. Okay, wait, hold on. Technically speaking, a little better. Cosmic Turnabout. Yeah, I mean, it was... Okay, you know what? I'm going to split these up. This was, like... Did I like it more? Yeah, I definitely liked it more than... I'll put it there. There wasn't much to this one. The astronaut guy... I like half liked him, half despised him, just because his sighing animation took like 15 seconds and he just kept sighing over and over again. Okay, wait. All right. But I do really like how it kind of ties into the next case, which is kind of unfair, technically speaking. But then it was like, oh man, Apollo Justice's friend, Clay Turan, got murdered. You never met Clay the entire game. Apollo just talks about how, like, hey guys, I have a friend. And like he brings it up at the dumbest moments, where it's like, hey, you know what this peanut butter and jelly sandwich reminds me of? It reminds me of my good friend, Clay Turan. And it's just like, why? Okay, all right. It's hard to talk about this case without jumping just straight into Dual Destinies itself, so I'm just going to talk about whatever. Why was Juniper Woods so important throughout all these cases? She did not matter at all in the end. I thought she was going to be super important. I thought, like, they were building her up like, oh, she was the defendant twice. Maybe she's going to be, like, the super defendant. Why was she so important? Why do they keep making her so important? She did not matter. She showed up once in Turnabout for Tomorrow, and that was it. Like, she didn't need to exist. Why couldn't she have been replaced with, like, Clay Turan or something? Like, someone who is actually super important. Like, why? It's like, yeah, they should have just replaced, like, every character with Aristotle Means or something. But Turnabout for Tomorrow. I swear I will talk about Turnabout for Tomorrow. It was pretty good. Yeah, I just realized I put Turnabout for Tomorrow beneath Turnabout Serenade, and I would not change it. I guess this is a good time to talk about Black Quill, who I somehow have not brought up at all. I was fine with Black Quill. Like, I don't know. I know people really like him. I don't know. He just never really grew on me. Like, he had good moments throughout all the trials. Like, I liked when he broke his shackles, except he kept doing it, so it kind of lost its impact. One of the things that I feel like wasn't explored as well as it should have been in this case was Athena and Black Quill's relationship. Like, you get like hints of what their relationship is, but I don't know. I just feel like it wasn't explored enough, or maybe it was, and I'm just stupid and stopped paying attention or something. But like the part with like figuring out the death of Athena's mother, that part was really good. I really liked that part. In fact, I'd probably put that in great if that was the only part. But all right, the other big thing with Dual Destinies, I'm pretty sure that's like the fifth big thing, the Phantom. What is my opinion on the Phantom? The reveal itself was fantastic, where it's like you figure out that like this goes back to the Turnabout Succession thing the thing that I brought up during Turnabout Succession, where they hide something directly in your face and it only becomes important or like super obvious in hindsight. The line, "The detective asked me to put down the ladder," that was fantastic, where it's like that was there the entire time and suddenly it just becomes super important. It is the turning point in this case, and you're like, oh wait, it was Bobby Fulbright the entire time? Like, that was such a gut punch. And it's just the unfortunate part is that I think this twist only works like immensely well is if you have no idea it's coming. I got like half spoiled, where I think I saw something like, oh man, the true final culprit really was super surprising, something like that. And so once the time came, I'm like, okay, I mean, it's going to have to be Bobby Fulbright or Juniper Woods. It was Bobby Fulbright. And I don't know, it felt like such a betrayal, you know? Because, like, this was my favorite character in this game, and it turns out that he's the big bad behind everything, and that the real Bobby Fulbright is freaking dead beyond recognition. That is so sad. That is so incredibly depressing. But I think it's just the aftermath of that reveal that just kind of sullies it a bit. Like, I don't know. They could have just done like a few small changes. Once again, this is the hindsight, me being able to fix something that's already done without thinking about how much it would take to actually fix it. There really wasn't a reason for the Phantom to be like a master of disguise, because they really didn't do anything with it. In fact, it retroactively screws up the case, where it's like, why would the Phantom be in the Bobby Fulbright costume to tell Detective Arm to throw the ladder out the window? Or not Detective Arm, What's-Her-Face, or a Blackquill. Why would he keep that costume on if he could just change to like some random schmuck of a security guard or something to get everyone off his trail? Because that's the only reason we found out about him and found out it was him. And it's just like, they should have either maybe just made Bobby Fulbright the Phantom without going through all like the he's dead already stuff, or have the thing where like you have the real Bobby Fulbright for 5-2 and 5-3, but he's replaced by the Phantom for 5-4. I'm pretty sure both those ideas have been brought up by other people before, so those aren't my ideas personally. And I, like, once again, this is just the hindsight thing. But, I don't know. I thought the thing with, like, finding out that he just doesn't have any emotions using the mood matrix, that was a really cool way of integrating the mood matrix into that. You know what? As I'm talking about this, I think I need to bump it up a little. Yeah, Okay, yeah, I just shot it up, like, so many places. Yeah, like, and I really liked the part where you used the mood matrix and the testimony from Simon Blackwell. That was really cool, and you had to try to figure out which one was actually incorrect and which one you could use to move further along the next one. That was a really cool use of the mood matrix. But, yeah, I think that's about it for that. Maybe not. I kind of wish I had written my thoughts out, because I had a bunch of thoughts, but I don't feel like I've hit everything. So, what do I think of Dual Destinies? All right, so I'm sorry, Dual Destiny fans. It's going in the bottom tier. I'm so sorry. I can see how people could like this game. Like, I really do, but I don't know. It just didn't do it for me, man. As a whole, to me, it felt too different from what came before. And I feel like if I had played it in the 6 years, or if I had played it with this, like, the 6 year or so gap between Apollo Justice and Dual Destinies, I would be so much more forgiving of it. But as it stands, it just feels too, for lack of a better word, anime-y. Jumping back to Turnabout Countdown for a second, like, Athena's introduction is like the haha, she fall downstairs and is quirky. I don't know, that was mean. Apollo's character arc, I already brought up his thing with, like, Clay Turan, like, it's just like, hey guys, my good friend told me that I'm fine, so I'm fine. And, like, it just felt, as a whole, like, again, anime-y, where, like, there's so much cheese here, where it's like Apollo's I'm fine was kind of like a really minor thing in Apollo Justice. In fact, I didn't even remember it was in Apollo Justice, but I'm fine basically just becomes Apollo, where, like, it's like magic words, where he's like, hey, yo, I'm fine, and then the astronaut guy's like, yo, I'm fine, let's shoot for the stars, and, like, oh, right, the big one, the Dark Age of the Law. That is, like, it felt so ham-fisted with the Dark Age of the Law, you know? It just feels cheesy to call it that. Just say, like, the people hate the court systems or something like that. Why do we have to keep calling it the Dark Age of the Law? Like, throughout most of the game, I don't even know what the Dark Age is. I get that a death row convict is prosecuting, but, like, I don't think that qualifies the Dark Age. In the first game, you literally have, like, Manfred von Karma, who will do literally anything, even shoot a man who sullied his perfect record. How is that not the Dark Age of the Law? Justice for all. You have Franziska von Karma literally whipping people in the courtroom, and no one does a thing about it. Trials and Tribulations. Spirit channeling. I don't know. the Dark Age of the Law, it's not, I don't think it's explored well enough to justify being called the Dark Age of the Law. Like, it doesn't matter for most of the game. In fact, I don't think it matters for any of the game. It just feels like regular Ace Attorney throughout the whole thing, except not with, like, the Shu Takumi writing style, more the Yamazaki writing style. And it just, I forgot to bring that up. I know the reason why it feels so different is because this game had a different director. It wasn't Shu Takumi who had done the previous ones. And, you know, I'm all for fresh blood. But I don't know, it just didn't... I know, it's unfair of me to be like that, but I don't know, I didn't enjoy it that much. I guess I could say I liked a lot of the breakdowns. This is the point where they started getting, like, absolutely crazy. I really do like the crazy breakdowns. Like, what was his name? Yuri Cosmos. I forgot about Yuri Cosmos. Like, there are some characters I really liked in this game. Like, Yuri Cosmos, he was fun. I should talk about Athena a little bit. Athena's fine. I don't know. She didn't do anything for me. I mean, fine's not... I think she's good. And it's, you know, it's hard not to... The soundtrack is phenomenal as always. And it's hard not to get excited at moments, like when Athena's theme plays, like, oh, Athena's objection theme, beautiful. Like, I don't know. There's still good moments in here. Like, this isn't a terrible game. By all accounts, it's pretty good. It's just, I don't know. I did not dig it. I did not dig it at all. I think that's everything at the moment. Yeah. Oh, right. 5 DLC. Yeah, I'm... a funny story. So I got all these games because I was like, oh yeah, I'll get them before the eShops close down. You can't put money on them anymore. I kind of didn't realize there was DLC, an entire DLC case, until after the point where I could have bought them. So 5 DLC and 6 DLC are going to be the only ones that I will not rank. Okay, so that is it for the first session. So second session, James will join you in a flash. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So remember how I said I was going to record the second part of this, like late summer or whatever? Yeah, it's mid-December right now. It took me a while to get through one of the games. I'm not going to say which one, but it took me a while. But yes, I'm back. I've finished all the games at this point, and I am now ready to have more people angry at me than ever. So where we left off, Dual Destinies had finished up. I did not like it very much. I'm sorry, everyone. But over the horizon was Spirit of Justice, which, frankly, I had heard the most mixed things about. But I don't know where that butt was going. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. I talked a lot in the last one, and I am talking too much now. 6-1, the Foreign Turnabout. What did I think of the Foreign Turnabout? That is a very good question, and I'm going to put it... Oh, come on. Right there. It didn't need to be 3 hours. And, like, I'm a fast reader, so I got through it in about, like, maybe, like, 2 hours and 15 minutes. And probably like 30 seconds, but even then, it felt so long, and I don't know. I didn't think it needed to be. A lot of it was just like, "Hey, Phoenix, you're a defense attorney. We don't like defense attorneys in Karine," and then they just insult you for like an hour straight. It's like, I think we could have cut some of this. I got that earlier on, so that's why that's there. Peace, love, and others. Wow, whatever that guy's name was, the culprit. He was really fun. I really liked him. That's why it's in Fine. I really liked their song. Somehow they synced up the text scrolling to the song. That was a fun detail. I really liked that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how that much to say about it other than it's fine. So next up, the Magical Turnabout. Now, I forgot to say, one of the extremes will change by the end of this. Which one? It's up to you to find out. Anyways, the Magical Turnabout. Now, I'm going to maybe say something very controversial here. This case is outstanding. Yes. This is the best case in the game, too, alright? That one's probably more controversial. But this case is so good. And I think I like it so much because it feels like an Apollo Justice case. Like, Apollo Justice has gotten the shaft throughout, like, these last 2 games. But you know what? This brought me back to good things. Maybe not good things. This brought back good memories, all right? It's just, oh man, Mr. Ruse, or however you say his name, because apparently I've been pronouncing it wrong, and I got the pun wrong. He kind of looks like Robert Downey Jr. That didn't really influence the impact of where I put it, but I thought that was funny. Everything about it's so good. It's only a 1-day trial, and it genuinely doesn't feel like it. It just flows so well. It's all natural. It has probably my favorite breakdown in the series with Mr. Roos. Once again, however you pronounce it. Robert Downey Jr. with his breakdown. It's so good. It's such a good case. Trucy's a character again after whatever happened in Dual Destinies. I'm sorry, man. I keep ragging on Dual Destinies. I feel bad. Because I know people really like that one. But I don't know. Outstanding case. Anyways. All right. This one... I haven't thought about my placement of this one because this one is so difficult to place because there's things I really did like about it and things I really did not like about it. It's so weird. Like, after I finished it, I was like, wow, that was a great case. But thinking back on it, I'm just feeling nothing. And I don't know. Like, maybe it's going to go somewhere and fine, I think. But maybe no, because Maya came back and then really didn't get to do anything, and that was the whole selling point of the game. And then, I like the monk guy though. I've been hovering it over here for a few seconds. I don't know if that's the right spot for it though. Man, this is agonizing. Yeah, I'll put it here. Am I really gonna put it there? Nah, I'll put it up one. Because I do... This is kind of Spirit of Justice as a whole. I do really like Rafa, and she got, like, a lot of characterization in this, and I thought her arc was really good. I like that. Honestly, I can't even pinpoint why I don't like it very much. I think it was, like, maybe the midpoint of the trial with the rebel guy. That's our... Okay, so, a quick tangent. I didn't get the pun on his name. I had to look it up. It's That's a Rebel, because he's a rebel. I thought it was That's Our Ball. I'm like, oh, it's his ball. I never found out what the ball was. That whole section with him went on for so long. And if I remember correctly, it was so difficult for no reason. Maybe I'm just stupid. But it got frustrating after a certain point. 'Cause I'm like, okay, dude, all right, yeah, I get it. Dude, I liked his animations, and then after a certain point, it's just like, okay, dude, let's speed this up a little bit, man. So yeah, I think it's going there. There were some cool twists, like the location of death, and then you spin around the weird thing, and it's actually he was a rebel the whole time. I don't know, man. Whatever. Man, Spirit of Justice isn't looking too good so far based on my rankings, other than magical. Storyteller. Turn about Storyteller. Okay, this is another one that I am not sure about. It's good. It's good. I guess I was more sure about it than I thought. I really liked Black Quill in this one. He was a solid addition to the main cast in this one, and I thought this was a good tension breaker for the final case, which is genuinely like 14 hours long. It is ridiculous how long that final case is. This was a funny case. What can I say? Like, I don't know. Cases don't have to be spectacular to me, like just spectacularly dramatic or tense or things like that to be good. Like, to me, I just like a stupid little case now and then. What's his name? Uendo? The guy with the multiple personalities? That was a really fun witness to mess around with. Because, like, you know, it's just fun. And then you have the clown lady. I'm not going to talk about the clown lady. It's just a fun case. It's a fun case. But it's not anything, like, super special. It wasn't, like, gut-bustingly funny to get into great. Or, you know, whatever. It's good. Low and good. All right. Doing this one, I'm just now realizing how much I'm having a hard time ranking the Spirit of Justice cases. Because 6-5, like I said, the 14-hour-long odyssey across 2 different cases and an incredibly long final case that has so much good and a lot of bad. I think I think I'm going to put it in low-end great. Let's start with the civil trial. The civil trial, once again, so much good, so much bad. Now, my favorite part of this one, or of the civil trial at least, and this one, this is completely unironic too. I loved Paul Addison. He was genuinely one of my favorite witnesses across this entire series. I know people ironically like him. I unironically enjoyed every second of him. He's just so funny. When he just gets up to the stand and Apollo accuses him of something, he's like, I refuse to answer. And he just walks off the stand. That was genuinely so funny. I don't know, any other game, someone just walking off the stand would not be funny. But in the context of Ace Attorney, with its limited animations and usually not a lot of movement, seeing him just book it off the stand was so funny. And I don't even know, man. His theme's so great. He had a really funny breakdown. It was so good. But the rest of the civil trial, it seemed like they were making a big deal out of nothing when it was like, oh, Apollo, you're going to have to face Phoenix in the courtroom. And it's like, doesn't this happen kind of a lot? In the real world? Why is this it's just a trial, right? You both know you're going to try to find the truth. And I don't know, it seemed like a huge deal where it's like, oh, Mr. Wright is trying to end our lives. And it's like, I don't know. And then Maya getting kidnapped again, it just felt like a retread of Farewell My Turnabout, except not nearly as good because Paul Addison's kind of a bumbling doof. But that's why I like him so much. And then what was her name? The army person? A lot of people seem to really like her. I did not like her at all. Maybe a little bit by the end, but I don't know. It was like, oh man, you got one character trait and it's speaking like an army person. It's like, I don't know, it just wasn't funny to me. I mean, you could argue the same thing for Paul Addison, but I found him funny, so I don't know, man, I don't know. Enough about the first part. The second part, it went on for so long. I know it kind of had to resolve everything, but it just, even if it was really good a lot of the time, it just went on for so long, man. It was a marathon run. That took it down a little bit, but I mean, there's been their fair share of long cases, but this is genuinely the longest case. What I really liked was Dirk. I really liked Dirk as a character. I'll call it here. I predicted that he was dead the whole time during the trial. I don't remember when, but it was before you were supposed to figure it out, and I am proud of that fact. Ignore the fact that genuinely, I must have been an idiot during 6-3. That whole part was really well done. But Garan, I don't know, man, I did not like her at all. She was just so cartoonishly villainous. And as soon as it wasn't trying to be subtle about it. Because as soon as she changed into her Final Fantasy final boss outfit, it was obvious that she had done everything, and I don't know how to feel about that. I feel like there could have been a bit more subtlety, and I don't know. It seems like a lot of these later Ace Attorney games aren't that subtle, which I mean isn't a bad thing in some cases, but I don't know. So yeah, it's going in great. I'm sorry, it's just so long. And it's been a little bit since I've beaten it. But yeah, I don't know. All right. Now let me actually remember to do this time and put Spirit of Justice into the definitive Ace Attorney games ranking. And as for where I'm going to put it, much like all the cases that came before it, I genuinely don't know. Okay, let's do it like this. Better than Dual Destinies, for sure for me. Not worthy of a C, or not, it doesn't fit in the C category. Is it better than Justice for All? Okay, wait, alright. Is it better than Apollo Justice? No, I liked Apollo Justice better. Okay, so now we're back to this. Alright, so I've been being objective for the most part and allowing subjectivity to influence the placements of things to a pretty high extent. And so in that case, I'm going to put it after Justice for All. And Is that incredibly biased? Yeah, probably. But overall, I think I enjoyed this better, even if some of the cases were objectively not as good. I enjoyed it more overall. And so, yeah, I definitely like this better than Dual Destinies. Like, by a pretty wide margin. You know what? This is the tier B 1.5, I think, is the tier list of prosecutors who I am not a big fan of. And in that way, I like Francisca more than Nayuta. Because, dude, I'll be honest, I feel like a lot of the cases that I ranked would be so much higher if Nayuta was not, the prosecutor for the game. I think his biggest cardinal sin was that he was just boring. He didn't really do anything new, He was just worse Edgeworth, and that's not the prosecutor you really want to be worse than, because Edgeworth is like the most popular prosecutor and probably one of the best ones that we've had so far. He had a redemption at the end, except I don't think he deserved. I think I took this from someone, but unfortunately I looked it up over the summer, so I don't think I'd be able to find the comment again. But someone suggested that Nayuta would be so much better if he wasn't a constant jerk all the time. And what I mean by that is, imagine you're going into 6-2, all right? You're meeting the new prosecutor. What if he's like just genuinely the nicest guy ever? Like, everyone describes him as being like, oh, he's so nice. But he really isn't. He's just a kind of a jerk throughout most of the game. So you go into 6-2, and he's just the nicest guy ever. It's like, oh man, this is great. Yeah, we're working together to find the truth. Yeah, great. And so when you get to 6-3 and you're back in Karain, you're like, okay, yeah, let's get ready for some more nice Nayuta. And then he's just the biggest jerk you have ever seen in your life. I feel like this is justifiable because the reason he's such a jerk is because in Karain, like attorneys or whatever are just treated like garbage. And it's like, oh yeah. And so what if the only place he kept up the hatred was in Karain? So when he's in Karain, he treats you like garbage. But when he's in America, he's such a nice guy because he doesn't have to keep up appearances. I feel like that would have been so good. And a lot of the issues I had with like some of the other cases would be resolved by that, because it's like, I don't know, it gives him a reason to be a jerk rather than just being like genuinely the worst person ever and then getting a redemption at the end. But, whatever. Yeah, it's going there. I feel like I probably have more to say about Spirit of Justice, but I don't know right now. Nothing I could really articulate into words other than like senseless babblings. So anyways, all right, we're back. Oh wait, yeah, I didn't play 6 DLC either. So the DLC cases are forever unranked by me because I don't know, I didn't feel like playing them. All right, so with that, I think I am finally done talking about the main Ace Attorney games, and as such, I will not talk about them for the rest of the video, because we are now on to the Investigations games, and from this point forward, I will spoil Ace Attorney Investigations 1 and none of the previous games in the Sextology? I think that's the right one. Whatever, the 6 games that came before. Okay, now Ace Attorney Investigations 1 is quite the beast. And by that'll become apparent as I rank these. All right, so what was this one? Turnabout. What was it called? the Office Turnabout something that I won. Now, this was definitely a first case. I mean, it was fine. Like, again, because I don't know, it was a case. The culprit existed. I don't know, man. I really have nothing to say about this one. Winston Payne was there as a cameo. I like Winston Payne. I mean, what is there to say about it? It was a first case. I thought it introduced the investigation mechanics well, but like, I don't know, just whatever. It's going in lower and fine. I can't help you. All right, next up, Turnabout Airlines. Now I know this one is rather infamous for not being liked, but you know what? I'm gonna throw it a bone here and say it's good. Low end good, but good. Because like, I don't know, I don't know why I liked it. I think I liked it because I felt like it was the case that tied into the overarching plot most, which is kind of sad coming from Turnabout Airlines, because like it's the only case that directly involves, maybe not directly, okay, no, that's a lie, that's a very much a lie, but like the smuggling ring, I feel like it was used best here with the statue, because that was like a huge part of the case. And I don't know, I liked that. Cammy Meal was fun. I liked Rhonda? Rhonda? Was that her name? I think so. The other flight attendant, I liked her. Zinc, what was it? That was his name? I mean, he was there. He fell off a balcony. That was kind of funny. I don't know. It's just, whatever. I don't know. This was the return of Francisca. And here I was hoping that... Actually, no, I'll talk about that later. Let me get a sticky note, because I always forget to... I always say, like, oh, I'm going to talk about it later, and then I don't remember to talk about it later. So, oh yeah, we're professional here. Taking notes, taking names. So, in my most controversial choice yet, Ace Attorney Investigations 3, the kidnap turnabout. I remembered. Let it be known that I remembered. So you remember how I said one of the extremes would be getting a new case? It is time for that to happen. And when I say Ace Attorney, what am I saying? And when I say the kidnap turnabout is the best case in the series, I am, of course, saying I am completely lying. This case is genuinely the worst thing I've ever played in my life. Oh my gosh, it is so bad. This case took me so... Like, if other cases took me a few days to get through, this case took me like 3 weeks. Purely because I just did not want to play it. It was so boring. It went on for... It didn't even go on for that long. It just felt like it went on for an eternity. One of the things about Ace Attorney Investigations 1 is that I feel like it has the most, like, logical inconsistencies throughout the series. Like, game-wise. And I'm pretty sure that this case is solely responsible for that. Because there's so many times where I'm like, no, that would work as evidence. But just because I presented it in the wrong order, like, I've never had that issue with any of the other games, except like maybe one or two instances here or there. But this game consistently messed me up, and especially in this case. The one that got me that just put me over the edge on this case was when you were debating, like, when Edgeworth got hit with the sword, and it was like, oh, you can figure out what hand he's dominant with based on where you were hit with the sword. No, you couldn't! He could just backhand you with the sword with his non-dominant hand, and that would get the exact same effect. It's a sword. You can hit a person with a sword with your non-dominant hand. Like, if you had to shoot a gun with your less dominant hand, I don't know, maybe. But like, if you're swinging a long object trying to hit another incredibly long object, it doesn't determine when your dominant hand is. Oh my gosh. And the only reason I figured that out was I was like, okay, well, the logic up until this point has been so bad that logic would dictate that would be the solution, that you could find out if he's left or right-handed through that. And when I found out I was actually right with that, I was so frustrated. I quit right there and then waited a few more days and then came back to it. Oh my gosh. Like, none of the characters are fun in this case. You have Lance, what was his name? Like, the Ernest Amano or whatever, the father with the big earlobes. He had nothing to him. He had big earlobes, and he just slowed down the game by going, now. Like, shut up, dude. Pick up the pace, man. I'm trying to get through this case, and I'm not having a fun time. The other thing why this case felt so slow is I usually abuse the text skip feature, because, like I said, I'm a fast reader. So usually, like the click, and then the text is instantly there. This game doesn't have that in any capacity. So I had to constantly wait for the text to scroll. And oh my gosh, I felt it in this case. I really felt it in this case. It's so, oh my gosh. Kay Faraday was introduced here. She was probably one of the only bright spots in this case. And then, what was it? Lang? No, Shang. No, it's Lang. Uh-oh. Lang, it's Lang. I liked him. I really do like him. I just feel like he doesn't have enough time to do anything. Just kind of in general. So, okay, whatever. This case, everyone knows this case isn't good. And it's painful. It's a painful one, man. So anyways, enough about that. Now time for my definitely really controversial opinion here. Ace Attorney for Turnabout Reminiscence. The one in the past, whatever that one is. Is this going to be controversial? I don't know. Yeah, it is. It's going in mediocre. I know. Everyone says that this is the best case in the game. This case was almost as much of a slog as the Kidnap Turnabout was. Okay, you know what? When I put it like that, am I saying it's worse than Big Top? Objectively, probably not. Subjectively, most definitely. If the Kidnapped was when I most felt the text speed was getting to me, this case was the one where it started to actively become an absolute nuisance. This case, it's long. I mean, it's not even that long. I don't even know why I didn't like it that much. Actually, no, I do. And this is kind of my issue with the Ace Attorney investigation games as a whole and a lot of the Yamazaki games. They aren't nearly as funny. And I think a lot of that has to do with, alright, I can bring up Francisca again, as I have on my note here. So many of these characters have one joke that they'll repeat ad nauseum, and they never go beyond that joke. So, let me put it like this. Francisca, every single joke with her in this game is, "Oh, Francisca, what's up? Whip. Do not talk to me that way." Out of all the accents I could have picked, why was it Russian? Okay. All right, yeah, we'll stick with that one. It's like, "Oh, Francisca, what are you doing? Do not talk to me that way. Whip. Ah, Francisca, I shouldn't mess that up again." And if it's not that, it's someone else messes up, and then Francisca whips Edgeworth. And like the sixth time that happened, I was just a broken man. And like, I was so happy to see Francisca again in these games, because I'm like, oh man, finally we're gonna get some more characterization for her, which she desperately needed. No, it's just, she just whips people. She just keeps whipping people over and over again, and they keep making the same joke out of it over and over and over again. And then let's jump to Callisto U. Her only joke is, haha, Edgeworth talks funny, and I'm going to spend so long and so much of your time with unskippable laughing animation. And yeah, and all the K's and Edgeworth's conversation jokes are just Kay being like, "Oh, Edgeworth, I'm gonna steal something." "No, Kay, don't steal something." "Oh man." And it's just like, there's never any variation. Like, at least with Turnabout Big Top, there was a lot of jokes in it that weren't just, I mean, there were definitely a lot of like character gimmicks in these earlier games, but at least with Big Top, there was at least some semblance of difference with joke material with each of them. And if there wasn't, at least it was Phoenix reacting in different ways to it. Edgeworth just doesn't have that going for him in these games. And it's just, I don't know, man. These games could have been so funny. And I think the reason why I didn't, spoiler alert, I didn't enjoy them nearly as much was because of that, the humor and the charm and things like that. But anyways, what was I talking about? All right, I-4. This one had some backwards logic again, where like the one I remember was the two bodies stacked on top of one another. You had to go through like this whole rigmarole to figure out like, oh, it couldn't have happened this way because of this, and then this, and then this, and then it's because the bodies are on top of each other. I just jumped to because the bodies were on top of each other, which you didn't have to do those small steps. In the context of the game, you did, and it's just like, well, I could just prove all of that without any of this evidence because they're on top of one another. I don't even remember what you had to prove. I just remember being angry at that. And not even angry, just like tired. I think I was tired at this point. And I didn't like many of the characters in here. I mean, everyone seems to really love Tyrell bad. He was okay. And once again with the one joke thing, and then the over-explaining of the jokes. I forgot about that too. Like, I laughed so hard when he was talking to Edgeworth for the first time, and he just reaches into his coat pocket, and it's like he's gonna pull out a gun. And I feel like that joke was over-explained. And it was like, what's he going to pull out? And then he pulls out like a lollipop, and it's like, oh, okay. Like, yeah, the joke's obvious enough. He's reaching into his jacket to pull out a gun. Like, I don't, that was funny. That one's nitpicky. That one is 100% nitpicky. And I'm pretty sure I might even be wrong about that. I don't know. I just kind of remember thinking that. Whatever. It's going to mediocre. It wasn't even that interesting either. I haven't even talked about the case itself. I don't know. It was another Ace Attorney case. Sue me. Okay. Now that that's over, the finale for Ace Attorney Investigations. Man, I don't even know. Maybe like right here in fine. Because like, once again, the text speed. A lot of my enjoyment from this game was severely diminished by the fact that it didn't have a text scrolling option, and I recognize that fact. But I refuse to let it. I refuse to let that incredibly subjective take hinder my incredibly objective takes. All right. Okay. So this case was. It was pretty long. Honestly, it was some of the most fun I had in this game. I'll be honest, and I know a lot of people rag on. Like, it has issues. It's long. It's not particularly interesting. I like some of the characters. I like the Polano guy. I think was his name, like the really nice guy, the ambassador. I really liked him because, you know, he just seems so suspicious. And then the twist is that he's just a nice guy. I thought that was funny. Quercus Alba, the legendary man himself. What is there to say about him? He shows up, he slouches, he beats himself over the head with a cane, and then suddenly he's the main villain of the game. And his diplomatic immunity, no, extraterritorial rights, that's what it was. His extraterritorial rights, and you just have the longest encounter with him, which ironically enough, I got spoiled on this game. It's just, I mean, I didn't really care, honestly, which is not something I really felt with any of the other games. Like, I did not care. So I knew Quercus Alba was the villain, and even knowing that fact, there wasn't any build up to it. He was just like, oh, it had to be you. And then he stands up. It's like, oh man, we sure got him good. You know, everyone was talking about like how long the final encounter with him is. You know, I'll be honest, it actually didn't feel all that long to me. I don't know why. Maybe I was just like numb at this point, and I was just marathoning the rest of the case because I wanted it to be over and move on to the next game. Okay, yeah, every thought I have is just on the game as a whole. So let's just jump to place it. Honestly, it's a matter of whether I felt something while playing Dual Destinies. A lot of it was not good feelings, but I at least felt something. I really didn't feel anything while playing Investigations other than anger. So, you know, yeah, it's going last. I think it's last. It was so boring. I don't even know. It just exists. Like, I know a lot of people defend this game, but I was bored, and I have a hard time defending bored. One of the things I really, one of the things I liked about this game was how neatly everything kind of tied together at the end, like with all the previous things set up in the cases. But I feel like one of my biggest issues with this game is that the cases almost feel too unconnected while you're playing them for the first time. Like, I think the reason I liked Airlines so much was because the connections were a lot more overt because of the smuggling ring and the big statue in the middle. I think the best example I have of this was in the first case where that case file was stolen, and they never say what case file it was. And then at the very end of the game, it's like, oh, that case file was actually the one from back then, and that's why they were trying to take it, because Max Porter, or whatever his name was, I don't know, was in cahoots with blah, blah, blah. Like, that, it was cool how it tied together, but it just, when you're playing them, you don't see the point of doing all these cases, because if it doesn't seem like everything connects together in at least some way, then, like, what's the point of playing it? That's my biggest issue. I don't know if I explained that very well, but if someone rags on me in the comments, maybe I'll make a comment explaining it some more. But I don't know. Nothing really stood out to me. Callisto Yu being Sheena, I think that was her name. I'll be honest, I actually figured that one out myself before it happened, like way before it happened. And I mean, that was cool to figure out. That was a cool twist. But that's really it. It's just meh. Whatever. Okay. Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Now, if we're going to be honest here, from this point on, spoilers for Ace Attorney Investigations 1 and 2. If we're going to be honest, this is the game that took me so long to get through. Not because it was bad, but because I had started college around the time I was I think finishing up Case 2. And so a lot of time went out the window there, and it took me a while to get through this game. So let's start with Turnabout Target. Now, this is probably going to set the precedent for what I think of this game going forward, for the most part, I think. I think Turnabout Target is one of the best first cases in the series. This case was so good. Going from Investigations 1 to 2, genuinely night and day difference, man. In a lot of ways. Oh, I will say I played the fan translation because that's the only one that's available right now. Maybe I'll materialize an official localization into existence by saying that. I doubt it, but maybe I will. A lot of the elements tied together. It had genuinely fun and interesting characters. It sets up the main mystery early, which is so nice because the first game did not do that, and it just connected everything together at the end. This game carries kind of the big overarching plot through all the mini plots, and it's obvious that it's doing that, except not obvious enough that you know where it's going. And oh my gosh, it's so good. This was a really good case. Shelly the Killer making his return. Oh, I love Shelly. So good. It was just, I don't even know. It was just a solid case. But anyways, the Imprisoned Turnabout. This one probably deserves... I'm thinking back. Let's put it here in good. This is probably going to be my complaint with every game, or every case in this game. They're just so long. And a lot of times you feel like you could cut out maybe at least 25% of each one and still have a great case. It's just the pacing's so slow in this game. I mean, they're all good. They're all really good. These are some great cases, but especially this one. This one was just really long. I don't know. I think it's the least interesting of the cases in this game. Even this is hard to it's hard to talk about Ace Attorney Investigations 2 without talking about it as a whole. So I'll go through these ones kind of fast and give all my thoughts in Investigation and when I rank Investigations 2. So I-2-3. This is a great case that, I'll put it here. So I love the Gregory Edgeworth half of this case. The part where you're in the past. That was such a great part. It's just the parts in the present that I'm really not big on. And honestly, if it was the parts in the present, it might be lower end good. But the parts in the past are so great. I love them. And I feel like this case, I mean, I would have preferred it if it was just in the past. That's just me though. And obviously that's influenced by the fact that I like the past part a lot more. But yeah, I think Great's a good play. Great is a great place for it. Who for? What was this one? Oh, this was the Black Market. I really like this one as well. But where am I going to put this one? Okay, let's do it like this. It's not outstanding. It's better than good. So it's just kind of where in great am I putting it? Right here, I think that's where it's going. Yeah, another great case. This game is full of great cases. I really like the black market stuff. A lot of the things in the law agency, that's not the right word, in the law office was really cool. And I love how it kind of connects to the last case. It's very much its own case, but ties very heavily into the last case. And in the case of the last case, every other case, what am I saying anymore? But yeah, this is, I think it's a really solid case. It's interesting all around. I like all the characters. Blaze, he's cool. Oh wait, something I'm gonna mark down. I'm gonna mark down in my little notes to talk about. I'm not gonna say what it is yet because, okay, I'll mark someone else down. it is so hard to talk about these cases without the context of the other cases, which, I mean, I'm going to do in a second. But it's weird how that works, because they're all so tied together very well. And so, the last case, the Grand Turnabout. I think it's going to have to go probably here in great as well. And now you're probably thinking like, wow, James, what the frick? Why is that not an outstanding? Well, it kind of ties into some of my bigger issues with the game, which I need to rank, and I definitely didn't just mark something else down on my list of things to go over. But I also kind of find it kind of funny how literally every case is like right next to each other. They're all very consistent in their quality. Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Okay, this is an interesting one. Because once again, we're back to the objective versus subjective thing. And objectively, it's an S. But I don't think it is an S. It's definitely better than Apollo, I'd say, from a quality standpoint. But I think I enjoyed Apollo Justice more. But it's definitely better, so we're going to stick to the objective ruling. I mean, technically it's better than Ace Attorney 1, but I think I enjoyed Ace Attorney 1 a lot more. Low end A. Okay, I've convinced myself. This is my combination of the objective and the subjective fighting for dominance in my mind. Because I enjoyed I'd say I probably enjoyed Apollo Justice more than Investigations 2. I definitely enjoyed the first game over this one more. But it's definitely... Investigations 2 is definitely a better game than both these games. But I value more than just the good. I value the everything. And a lot of times the everything gives you a good picture of enjoyment. I don't think that made any sense, but I don't know. That's just where I'm putting it. Like, it's still a great game. I mean, let me just say, everything ties together so beautifully. All these cases do such a good job of building off the previous one while building up intrigue. Like, the red coat constantly is permeated throughout each of the cases, and so you're reminded, like, oh, there is some sort of mastermind behind all this that's orchestrating something here. I don't know what that something is yet, and that something is revealed in the Grand Turnabout. And it's just this game does that so well, better than any of the other games, with tying an overarching narrative into it. But while objectively these are some of the best cases and one of the most consistent games across the entire series, there's just like this sense of enjoyment that I did not have while playing it compared to the other ones. And I think this is going back to like the humor thing I brought up in the Investigations 1 section, where it's like some fantastic cases here, but the individual like dialogue and things like that just, I mean, it's good, but it's not as entertaining, if that makes sense. Like, these games are not even close to being as funny as the original trilogy. And I feel like the humor in Ace Attorney helps the more dramatic parts to taste better. What is that? The humor bolsters the drama. There we go. That was just about the worst way I could have said that. All right. I'm talking very subjectively. Let me give some like more things that are more objective here. For good, Sebastian de Best, I loved him. He is so great, and even if it takes him until like case 2-4 to actually start, developing in a way. I think that's what it was, at least. It felt like it took a while. I love his arc, and the final moment where he finally comes into his own with Edgeworth is fantastic, and standing against his father and just completely demolishes him on the stand. That was the best way. That was great. I love that. And his new theme, I love it. He got a new theme. I love it when these games play with music like that. Oh, man. Yeah, Sebastian was a highlight of this game for me. I loved him. Justine, I will be honest, I loved Justine until the Grand Turnabout, which is why I think it was more so great rather than outstanding, along with a few other things. Justine was, to me at least, Justine was a super interesting character until Grand Turnabout, where she really didn't do much of anything other than become a mother. And I don't know. There was an air of mystique around her, and then once that mystique was dropped for just like something as I say it's simple, but it really isn't simple. I feel like I'm trashing on single moms here, and I don't mean to. But I just feel like she really didn't have much to do after. And then she became like permanently attached to the snotty kid whose name I don't remember right now. Was it like Rex or something? I think that's like completely wrong. But I don't know. Just, I felt like there was going to be more to her that ultimately was not there. And that might be on me for assuming there would be more, but it also, I felt like she was portrayed as having potentially more. I don't know. Yeah, and then, look, I'll be honest. Major spoilers for Investigations 2. If you have not already dipped at this point, the mastermind. I know a lot of people really like Simon Keyes. Like, a lot of people love Simon Keyes. He did nothing for me, man. I mean, all right, I'll be honest. I got spoiled for this one too by some loser in like an entirely unrelated just thing I was looking at. And it's like, oh hey, my favorite character is Simon Keyes, and it's like, okay. I wish I hadn't been spoiled because that would have been a great twist. And even knowing it was coming, it was a great twist. Like, it was built up adequately throughout the entire thing, and like this was the big reveal. But it did this thing that I hate it when games and shows and movies and stories do, when it's like, oh, you figured out who did it, you figured out the mastermind, and then their personality does a complete 180. And it's like, I get why that happens, because it's like, oh, they gotta be evil. But it's also like, I feel like it dampens the impact of the twist when you have like this character go from like, oh, I'm super nice and everything, to I'm going to shred your family in front of you and stuff. Simon Keyes just kind of felt like another, after he was revealed, just felt like another, ha ha ha, I am villainous and evil and angry and kind of crazy. And then it never really builds beyond that. And it's just like, I feel like we've already done this before in the series. With like this character going absolutely mentally insane. But I feel like it's been done before, and it did feel like new ground, and I didn't find him particularly interesting. Okay, that's a lie. He was pretty interesting. I think I'm just ragging on it to rag at this point because it gets so much praise, and I just want to be different, But like, that is not to say that this is a bad game. This is still like low A tier for me. It's a great game. It's just there were parts about it that I was like, I can't look past them, Oh, I haven't even talked about Ray Shields. This is another thing. I don't know. Everyone seems to love Raymond Shields. I don't know, man. Once again, it was kind of like a Justine Courtney situation where I was like, I thought he would be a lot more important than he ultimately ended up being. And that's kind of my big thing. Actually, that's pretty much every character in this game. I thought they would be more important than they ended up being, just because Edgeworth is seen as this like borderline second coming of Christ. And basically everyone becomes Edgeworth's cheer squad during the final encounter. And it's like, it's just kind of Edgeworth doing his thing, and everyone's like, oh yeah, Edgeworth, you're so good. And I feel like that issue just kind of permeates throughout both these investigation games, where Edgeworth is treated as this godlike figure when he's just a guy. And I feel like it kind of diminishes a lot of the development he experienced in the original games. And just, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these complaints are more personal to me. When in reality, like, a lot of people just barely skim over them. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking out of my butt here, but I guess that's what I felt. Still a great game. Okay, now that I've adequately angered probably everyone in this comment section, let's jump into The Great Ace Attorney. So from this point on, I will not talk about Investigations or the original games. I will only talk about the first half of The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, which is to say Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Actually, you know what? No, I could do this without talking about the later game. So the first game, or the first case in the... Okay, no, I was right. No, wait, no, I'm wrong. First case and first game. Great One. I guess I'm calling it Great One. What's it called? The Great Adventure of Wretched Flowering... if they changed up the naming scheme for this one, I'll be honest, I don't think I know any of them. So anyways, this is... It's either low-end good or high-end fine. Did I think it was better than Corner? Probably. Did I like Airlines better? No, I gotta be objective. Let's say low-end good. High-end fine. Like, it's a solid case, but much like the Foreign Turnabout and definitely some other ones on here, it's just too long. Like, I don't think we needed the whole thing with the gold coin under the stake with those two weird witnesses. I mean, I know why those two weird witnesses were there, so you could, like, get used to the mechanics of multiple people on the stand at once. But I feel like there could have been a more interesting way to do that, like with maybe Hosonaga and Jezzael Brett. I love the characterization, though, and that remains consistent across, like, this entire duology. I love the characters in this, and a lot of my enjoyment for these cases would be hurled up so much further if it wasn't for, like, the objective part and being like, but it's so long, and... Like, I enjoyed pretty much every part of this case going through it, maybe minus the coin part and the stake part, but it could have been trimmed down, I think, at least somewhat, so it's not 3 hours. Maybe make it like 2:15, 2.5, and I think we would have been good there. Okay, so next up is probably the most contentious case. Not the most contentious. One of them, because no one can seem to agree where it's supposed to go. Because this is this is Great 2, which is the investigation only one, and frankly, I don't know where I'm gonna put it either. I definitely liked it better than whatever this one, the inflammatory turnabout. I'll put it here. That's kind of where I was gravitating towards. Like, once again, I think it's too long, especially since it's only an investigation segment. If there was a trial, I know why there wasn't, because you'd have to make the assets for a boat trial when it's like, you use it for one case. But I don't know. Like, it was a great introduction to all the characters and things like that, but as a case itself, it just wasn't enjoyable. Like, enjoyable in the way of, like, I love the characters, and I love seeing them interact and everything. But as a case itself, it's kind of like, maybe we could have done this a little differently. But yeah, that's why it's fine. But it's still great. Not great. If it was great, it would be in great. So it's not great. It's fine. Whatever. Okay, Clouded Kokoro. This is definitely in great. I'll just say that now. I'm not exactly sure where. I liked it better than... Yeah. I think that's a fair place for it right there. No, the impact of... Yeah, no. Okay, yeah. This is a great case. And once again, it's only a trial, but I think that works to this case's main point beautifully, because if you had a chance to investigate everything, then the point where evidence starts getting tampered with live on the scene would have so much less value, because it causes you to start second-guessing yourself. Because it's like, okay, wait, no, I definitely would have seen that bloodstain there, up at the top there, but I didn't. So was it there the whole time and I just missed it? It causes you to second-guess yourself, which is exactly what Ryunosuke's feeling, where it's like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this how it's supposed to go? And then you get to the point where it's like, oh, dude, Magnus McGilded is unequivocally tampering with everything, and you just have to watch the train wreck happen as he loses his mind on Stan, where he's like, oh yeah, dude, I'm clean. I am clean. It's so well done. I love this one. It's such a good case. And it just captures everything really well. Okay. Okay, I might give him away a little bit here. Okay, Great 4. Objectively not the most fantastic, because once again, it is very long and could have been cut down, but it's probably like right here. I'm going to move that up to good. I feel like that's fair, especially since I'm putting a lot of these in fine when I actually... I'll get there. But what are we? This is this one. So I'm not a huge fan of the Soseki Natsume in this game. Not the real Soseki Natsume. I have to clarify. I mean, in the context of this game, I don't know what Soseki Natsume was or what he did in real life. Or he was an author, obviously, but I haven't read any of his stuff. I'm backpedaling. I wasn't a huge fan of him. What's her face, Joan? I did not like her in the slightest. Her jokes weren't funny. She was just kind of a nuisance. I really liked, what was his name? Garadeb, Mr. Garadeb. What was his actual name, though? Doesn't matter. I really liked him. He was great. This case just, once again, it kind of felt like it could be trimmed down. Like, ultimately, this is a relatively simple circumstance dragged out across, like, maybe like 6 hours. It's pretty long. It doesn't need to be that long. I actually really liked, what were their names? Rolly and Patricia Beat. I really liked them. Because I like their story and why Rolly moved the body, where it's like, dude, genuinely just a stroke of bad luck. And it's as easy as moving the body across the street that gets you some actual alone time with your fiance, girlfriend, whatever. And also, this case is one of the most raw lines in the entire series. And it's when it comes from Rolly Beat, of all people. And it's something like, it was the only time I'd ever cursed God, as like the Tell the Truth theme is playing in the background. It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Okay, I'm moving it up. just for that line alone. That's such a good line, and it fits with the time period they're set. Oh man, see, like that's the hard part about ranking this first game, where it's like standing alone. There are better cases in this series, but like when taking the bits and pieces and combining them into like a whole being, they become retroactively so much better. Man, this is incredibly hard to do, because like technically I would say I enjoyed this case better than something like Storyteller here, but I feel like Storyteller's technically the better case. 5. The finale of this one, I think, is you know, I was thinking of putting it in good, but the more I see what's in good, I'm like, no, it deserves to be higher than that. It deserves higher than that. Okay, this is going up a lot further than I thought it would. Yeah. This is a good spot right here. Dude, I'll be honest, I thought I was going to put it in good, but it ended up in great. And I think it's just like, this is a really good case. Once again, kind of long, but that's just me saying the exact same thing over and over again. Let me get into some more detail here. I really love the music box thing, and it really shows Ryunosuke's character at the very end. And where he's like, "Yo, I don't care who I peeve off. I'm defending these people. All right." Gina Lestrade. I haven't even talked about Gina. I really like Gina, and I feel like this is a good like capstone to her. Yeah, this is a solid case. Ashley Graydon. he's just fun. Okay, real quick, I need to talk about the Eggert Benedict thing. I find it so funny how they're like, oh yeah, that's obviously a fake name. Dude, there's like a guy named just like Dead Man in one of the other games. Like, what was it about Eggert Benedict that was like, oh yeah, that's definitely fake? I just thought that was funny. See, this game I love these games. It's the Great Ace Attorney games. I'll just be honest about that right now. I love these games. There's some of my favorites on the Switch right now, and they're just so charming, and I love them for that. And I'm not even talking about it. Okay, real quick. B. Yeah. Because Alone, this one by itself is kind of like it's a B tier, but when taken as a whole, yeah. So, all right, so the finale of this case, or this game. Honestly, I'm having a hard time talking about it. Like, it's a really solid case. I love I like the use of the bloods, and how it's like, oh shoot, this person actually had different blood than what we thought, so that kind of changes everything about the case. And then the details with the between the two pictures where there's a cat door on one of them, and you don't realize that until the very end. Oh my gosh, blew my mind. Oh, this was the whole cross-eyed case, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't know about anyone else here, but I had such a hard time initially figuring out how to do the cross-eyed thing. I figured it out like towards the end of the case, but I actually had to look up one of the answers of like, oh, what's different here? Because I could not. I couldn't figure it out. Because my eyes weren't working properly or something. I don't know. Oh man, but yeah, this is just a really solid case, and I really like Gregson. I haven't brought up Gregson. I love Gregson. Anyways, whatever. I'm just talking in circles. The next game, Greatest Attorney Resolve. So in thinking about these cases, I realized that there's you'll just see. All right, so the Blossoming Attorney. This is. Right here. High and good. I really like this case. It's a solid opener. Sets up everything quite well. I really like Susato as I just like Susato in general as a character, and getting to play as her was a lot of fun, and seeing her mimic like Ryunosuke's face slap, all his other mannerisms, his freaking frantic dog scampering stare. Oh man. It was just a fun case. It was a really good case. And I feel like it ties in really well with the themes of the game, with Many Memo and his desire to, help Japan and get revenge on this person who was so obviously playing the system. And it's like, oh man, oh yeah, and Jezebel Brett is being the victim. What the flip, man? Oh man, that was such a good thing. It was so good. Okay, yeah, I think that covers everything. Okay, 2-2. All right, this... Man, am I really going to do this? I think I'm really going to do it. This is an outstanding... I'll be honest. I really have no defense for this one. I just loved this case, man. This is the least important case in this game, but it was just so much fun. I love all the weird things, like the bars of soap, freezing the money, using the gas. It fits together so beautifully, where it's like you don't see how everything connects until the very end, when you find out like, oh shoot, the rooms are connected with the gas pipes, and you could blow like poison into blah blah blah, and then you have like Olive Green putting poison on the pipe to try to kill Shamsphere when Shamsphere was trying to kill Soseki. And it's just like, oh man, it ties together so fantastically in ways that like other kind of, this isn't a filler case, but in a way that like other less important cases throughout the series don't tie together as well. Shamsphere is so much fun. I remember this just being a really funny case too. With Shamsphere rising from the dead. Oh, oh man, there's so many good moments just in this case alone. And I don't know, this is incredibly biased on this one, I will admit. But do you want to know what isn't biased? 2-3. This is high-end outstanding. It's so close to being up here in stepladder above the rest. Like, if 2-2 ties together everything so well, 2-3 ties things together fantastically. Like, and this is the point where like the overarching plot starts to come into fruition, and to be able to tie in that overarching plot and have it connect so heavily to the case itself, this single case itself, and then not, what am I trying to say here? Like, it goes into so much detail on the overarching plot without giving anything away. It sets up a beautiful pitch for the next two cases. Like, oh man, Drebber, I think it's just Drebber. His story's great, and I love how he connects into the defendant with like how Hairbrain, gets basically all the funding he wants for something that genuinely is impossible to get actually working. And Drebber struggled, it was something like that. Like, Drebber never got the funding and was never able to pursue his dreams. And then just through sheer happenstance, he got thrown into this multi-country conspiracy theory, and it ruined his life. Oh man, it's such a good case. And then the time bomb, the time gravity changing device, that was so funny. I love that. Sholmes is great. I don't even know how I've gone this long without talking about Sholmes. Sholmes is fantastic. But I'll talk about it later. We'll get there. We'll get there. And so, I kind of gave away my position. 2-4, or great 2-4. This is kind of hard to rank, because alongside like Dual Destinies, with its finale being split up, it's like I technically just want to put them together. Can I put them together? Is it legal to put them together? I mean, it's my list. No, I'll put it here. They're separate. No, that's too far. Because this case genuinely has one of my favorite just scenes in general, and it's when and it's deeply it's so connected to me because or actually huge spoilers for this entire duology. Kazuma being alive and being the prosecutor, is that what I was about to say? Just the entire scene with the candle, I'm gonna say, because I actually came to the connection that like, okay, wait, why is one of the candles shorter than the others? Like, it had to have been shot or something. So I realized that myself, and as I was pressing, I'm like, okay, I know exactly what this is, I just want to read through everything. Suddenly, Kazuma overtakes the entire thing, points out the contribution I was about to make, and then turns it in his favor. All while the revived prosecutor, genuinely one of the best songs in the game, as a twisted version of Kazuma's main theme, blares in the background. That was such a beautifully done moment, and really just cements everything here. Like, it just cements this case as fantastic in my eyes, even if it like technically doesn't stand on its own, you know? And it's so heavily reliant on the next case in order to, you know, solve everything that came before. There's individual moments here that just push it up so far. And oh my gosh, it's so good. And Gregson's dead, man. Oh my goodness. That hurt. That genuinely hurt. I cannot believe they did that. I'm glad it took risks. Like, it's, man, okay, you know, okay. I'll just move on from here. Okay, so great 2-5. Man. Okay. Nostalgia dictates that 3-5 will never be beaten, but I think Great 2-5 deserves a spot in the stepladder above the rest as well. Oh man, I don't even know what to say here. It's just, every complaint I have with this case just pales in comparison to like the highs of everything else. Like, the only thing I can really think of complaining about was like the weird holographic projectors, but even then it's just like they created blood devices, whatever. It was just a means of getting to the truth, you know? It was a little out of left field, but like everything else, from how there's reveal after reveal after reveal after reveal of just like stuff that has been a mystery throughout the entire duology. Hello and welcome to Probably Different Acoustics. I'm in a different room. I've been interrupted a lot during this second recording session, so like there's gonna be a pain to edit. But what was I saying? Oh right, reveal after reveal after reveal after reveal, and it's crazy just how many possible reveals there could be. And just when you think it's finally over, there's another one, and it just all ties together so well into the overall theme. And it's just man. This is just a good case. And I feel like it ties everything together so well, and it caps off each of these characters fantastically. Okay, so I really haven't talked about the soundtrack very much across all these games, because everyone knows like the Ace Attorney soundtrack is phenomenal across genuinely every single one of these games. I want to give special mentions to Partners, The Game Is Afoot. That is genuinely one of the best songs I've ever heard, like bar none, across any form of media. It made every scene, it only shows up like 3 times in the game. One for like a throwaway scene, not even a throwaway scene, where it's like, oh, we gotta move on. And I think it was on like the end of 2-4 or something. But the final dance of deduction, where it plays, and then when Sholmes bursts in through the courtroom doors and it's like, hey, yo, I think we need this guy to testify. And then the crowd is screaming, you know, like, testify, testify, as like the Partners is blaring in the background. Oh my gosh, like some of my favorite gaming experiences ever. Like bar none. And oh, I should say, I basically marathoned this last part for like, so every Friday, some of my friends from college, we get together and watch a movie is like, like, oh, time to relax for the weekend. Well, we didn't meet the Friday where I was about to beat this game. And so I was like, well, I already have this time carved out. Let me just play some Great Ace Attorney. I kid you not, when I say I played this game, this final case, for like 5 hours straight up until I beat it, and was enjoying myself every second of the way, even when I got stuck, and I just wanted to keep going. That barely happens to me. I'm lucky if I play a game for like 2 hours. And that's just a me thing a lot of the time. It's so outstanding. It's even a step above outstanding, in a step ladder above the rest. But oh my gosh, just phenomenal case, phenomenal game. If I didn't put it above, or if I didn't put the last case above Bridge to a Turnabout, I think this is finally time for redemption. I think this is probably the best Ace Attorney game. Because, I mean, just even look at this. There's only one case in good. The rest are in outstanding. And then the final one is in the tier that was supposed to be the tier for the only one. But I feel like it needs to be in that tier. It's just, this entire duology is phenomenal. And it's probably one of my favorite games ever now. Just the soundtrack, the setting, the art. Everything comes together so beautifully. All these characters, you get to know them. And I think it's the Takumi. Again, my Takumi apologist in me. These games are just hilarious, too. The writing is so good. And it's kind of what was missing, or I felt like was missing from Ace Attorney Investigations 2. Like, even if Ace Attorney Investigations 2 overall plot is greater than the Great Ace Attorneys, which I think it is in a few places, with like interconnectivity and importance of cases compared to others. Like, you could probably cut 1 or 2 cases from Great Ace Attorney and still have everything be perfectly fine. But it's the whole experience that makes it for me, rather than just the absolutely phenomenal, objectively phenomenal parts. I feel like I'm just... That was a very subjective way to end this, which I don't know if it's fair. I feel like I want to write more or talk more about Great Ace Attorney, but I really can't without any notes in front of me, because I haven't taken any notes. You can tell I'm a very good professional person at this. Yeah, that's it. I think that's it. I've sung my praises enough for that game. You could probably tell my opinion on pretty much any part of it at this point, just from how I've talked about it. So, yeah, now that that's done, this is the final tier list. I don't feel so incredibly fantastic about it, and I think that's just because I took objective looks at all these cases. I've said that like 5 times now, you know what I mean. So okay, maybe there was a little subjectivity. Ooh, can I add more tiers? How do I... there we go. Gray, no, add a row below, add a few more. Okay, I think that is set. Okay, well, all right. No. Okay, I think that's fair. And then this one can go right above it. Excellent. I think that's pretty good. This is... I'm pretty sure this is a sin, what I've just made here. Good night, everyone.